Good afternoon. I'm State Representative Garnet Coleman, and I'm proud to work for the people of Texas, and especially for my community in Houston. For the sake of our state and our nation, it's time to stop the finger pointing and political games and focus on how state policy really affects our friends, neighbors, and fellow Texans. 10 years ago, when Governor Rick Perry gave his first State of the State address, he asked a very important question. Where will millions of young Texans end up if the door of opportunity, the door of higher learning, is not open to them? Today we have our answer. Over the last 10 years, Governor Perry and his budget practices have shut the doors of opportunity for millions of young Texans. They won't have the education they need to get good jobs and compete in the global economy. Almost 100 public schools in Texas could be closing in the coming months due to a severe lack of state support. Parents and children will be uprooted from their neighborhood schools, a very real consequence of a multi-billion-dollar budget shortfall that is the direct result of the governor's budget policy. From pre-K through college, Texas students are being left behind. In the coming months, 100 public schools like the one in your neighborhood could be closed. 100,000 toddlers would be denied the opportunity to enroll in pre-K next fall, and Texas grants would not be available to a single freshman entering college. For all of the governor's bravado about job creation, his proposed budget would eliminate hundreds of thousands of public and private sector jobs in the next 2 years. And too many of those jobs the governor talks about today are low-paying jobs. Texas has a higher share of minimum wage jobs than any other state. Every day, Texas families take a long, hard look at their budgets. Sometimes we have to decide whether to invest our resources or put money away. Texans face a similar decision today. Do we continue to ignore the problems created by politically motivated budget practices? Or do we pursue new priorities, save our schools, and fully invest in the health and safety of our state? In the coming months, all of us in the Texas legislature will debate that question. And as we debate and make tough choices, we should pledge the following. We should be honest about the impact of the budget cuts. We should be honest about the amount of money we have to invest in Texas's future. And we should set aside distracting partisan issues and solve our state's budget crisis. First, let's understand and be honest about the consequences of the budget cuts. Proposed budget cuts will force Texas grandparents out of nursing homes, deny them hospice care, and cut critical programs. When we make cuts to health care, local taxpayers end up paying the cost. We should stop passing along unfunded mandates to our counties. When we do, it hurts the quality of care and causes significant cuts to local jobs. This is especially true in rural Texas, where hospitals and schools are often the biggest employers in the county. Texas has the highest rate of uninsured children in the country, and half of all births in Texas are covered by Medicaid. Every additional dollar we cut from Medicaid will harm the quality of care for our seniors, the disabled, and children. Providing health care coverage for our most vulnerable Texans should be one of our highest priorities. The proposed budget cuts also target our public schools. Over the weekend, First Lady Barbara Bush said that our schools are in crisis and that we can't afford to cut state funding for our students. But Governor Perry's proposal to cut $9.3 billion from our schools is a problem, not a solution. Today we heard Governor Perry call for universities to set the price of a four-year degree at $10,000. That's an important goal, but Governor Perry didn't say one word about how to pay for it. In fact, in the 10 years he's been governor, the cost of a four-year college degree has gone up over $12,000, putting college out of the reach for thousands of middle-income students. Today, Governor Perry also called for consolidating state agencies. But what we learned in 2003 was that consolidating state agencies is just a code word for cutting state services. For too long, many state leaders have not been honest about how much money the state has in its budget. Governor Perry has said that before our work is done, the state will have more revenue. But we've heard that before. In 2006, the governor proposed a tax swap that was supposed to generate new revenue for our schools. Instead, it has created a permanent budget shortfall of more than $5 billion a year. Taxpayers deserve to know the truth. All of us try to save money for the day we might really need it. We have $9.4 billion saved in our rainy day fund. Governor Perry says we can balance the budget without using the rainy day fund. But the fact of the matter is, we used the rainy day fund in 2003, the last time we faced a significant budget shortfall. In fact, we used the rainy day fund to fund the governor's pet project, the Texas Enterprise Fund. There's no excuse to close the doors on a neighborhood school, deny health insurance to a 6-year-old, or kick grandma out of a nursing home when we have billions in taxpayer dollars saved for these very emergencies. Finally, we shouldn't let political issues distract us from the real work that needs to be done. Governor Perry touched on many controversial issues, none of which we should be spending our time on until we finish the work of the budget. Governor Perry talked about the sonogram bill he declared an emergency priority, but what he didn't say was that Texas has the lowest percentage of pregnant women receiving prenatal care in the country. Governor Perry talked about the need for a balanced budget amendment for the federal budget. But what he didn't mention is that he accepted roughly $17 billion in federal stimulus funds, of which $6.4 billion were used to plug the state's 2010 budget shortfall. Governor Perry talked about enacting voter ID laws and banning sanctuary cities, two imaginary problems he declared as official state emergencies. But what he didn't talk about was that targeting communities of color with unnecessary laws, as well as sounding the segregationist call of states' rights, does far more to divide our state than bring us safer together. The only emergency item we have facing our state is our budget crisis. We must stop following politically motivated budget practices and invest in the future of Texas. Until we do, the state of our state will not be enough for the vast majority of Texans and Texas families. Texans can do better. Thank you, and God bless Texas.